A voice that wouldn't quit. He survived enemy snipers, won a Bronze Star under Pacific gunfire, and later barked orders at a nation glued to black and white television sets. Frank Sutton's life sounded like a triumph march, until the music stopped behind a dinner theater curtain in 1974. What chain of choices led a battle-tested sergeant and beloved comedian to collapse just off stage? And why do his catchphrases still echo 50 years later? Let's travel the full arc, from a dusty Tennessee porch to Hollywood soundstages, to a final heartbeat in Shreveport, because the real story behind Move It, Pyle, is longer, louder, and more human than any sitcom punchline. Small Town Sparks. Clarksville, Tennessee, 1930s. The Great Depression drained wallets, but it couldn't drain young Frank Spencer Sutton's imagination. He built cardboard sets behind the family duplex, charged neighborhood kids a nickel, and pulled curtain ropes improvised from clothesline. Teachers recalled a boy who recited Shakespeare's soliloquies during recess while sharecropper trucks rattled past. By 14 he was reading radio plays into a salvaged crystal set, hoping the static would someday carry his voice beyond Clarksville's cotton fields. But ambition wasn't enough, he needed an escape plan. And that plan arrived by radio waves, airwaves and ad-libs. At 16, Frank landed a part-time job sweeping floors at WDXN, the local station. When a late-night announcer overslept, the teen grabbed the mic, improvised weather updates, and delivered a comedic farm report that had listeners choking on morning coffee. Management offered him weekend airtime. Frank learned pacing, inflection, and how to keep audiences from twisting the dial. Each broadcast felt like liftoff, yet he knew the real sky lay far north, beneath Broadway lights. Except history would drag him in another direction before footlights ever found him. Pearl Harbor slams the door. December 7, 1941, news bulletins crackled through Clarksville radios. Within weeks, 18-year-old Frank stood in a Marine enlistment line. The eye chart stopped him cold, colorblind. He refused to return home defeated, so he pivoted down the hall to the Army desk. They stamped, approved, and shipped him west within days. In letters to friends, Frank wrote, "I'm trading scripts for rifles, somebody has to." What followed would brand discipline into his bones forever. War on the razor's edge. Frank joined the 293rd Joint Assault Signal Company, men who landed first, lugging radio gear through surf to direct air and naval bombardments. At Guadalcanal he crawled past wrecked palm trees under tracer fire. At Leyte Gulf he wired antennas while monsoon rain turned foxholes to chocolate pudding. During the Luzon push, shrapnel tore his shoulder. He finished transmitting coordinates before seeking morphine. 14 amphibious assaults later, he'd earned the Bronze Star, a Purple Heart, and a steel spring posture Hollywood could never fake. Yet in jungle lulls, he organized skits to calm nerves, discovering comedy could stitch shattered morale. When victory whistles finally blew, he packed 2 souvenirs, a sergeant's stripe and a vow to act professionally, or die trying. Columbia, from foxhole to footlights. Back stateside in 1946, Frank rode the brand new GI Bill straight to Columbia University's drama program. He devoured Euripides by dawn, delivered telegrams on bicycle by afternoon, and rehearsed Chekhov by dusk. Classmates joked he drilled scene partners like raw recruits, demanding crisp cues and emotional accuracy, on the double. In a freshman improv lab he met Toby Igler, a Brooklyn native with literary fire. She critiqued his monologues, he admired her story beats. By 1949 they were married, pooling ration book ingenuity to pay Manhattan rent. Their love story would weather every showbiz cyclone that followed. But first, Frank had to break through New York's steel door casting offices. Off-Broadway and Marty. The early 50s brought live anthology television, the Philco Goodyear Playhouse, Kraft Television Theater, Studio One. Producers craved actors who could deliver flawless takes before millions, no retakes. Frank's battlefield calm under pressure landed roles, crooked cops, desperate husbands, bitter war vets. In 1955 he clinched a small but memorable turn opposite Ernest Borgnine in Marty, trading verbal jabs inside a smoky bar. Critics noticed, Mr. Sutton burns a hole in every frame. Yet in Hollywood's eyes he was the intense second banana, reliable but not marquee material. That would change with a single guest spot built to be forgotten. One episode, Instant Icon, Spring 1964. The Andy Griffith Show script called for a drill instructor to square off with Gomer Pyle. Frank, still rocking a crew cut, read the sides once, then unleashed genuine NCO thunder. Even rehearsal gaffes had crew members snapping to attention. The episode aired, mailbags bulged. Viewers begged for more of that, shouting Sergeant. CBS spun up Gomer Pyle, USMC, overnight, handing Frank a 5-year contract that catapulted him from character actor to household name. But inside every gift lurks a trap. The Sergeant Carter phenomenon. For 5 seasons, 1964 to 1969, Sergeant Vince Carter snarled, sputtered, then secretly smiled at Private Gomer's innocent chaos. Ratings rocketed. Frank perfected a rhythm, 3 rapid-fire insults, a slow burn, then a microglint of pride. Real Marines wrote to say Carter reminded them of drill instructors who could chew nails but hug you later. Kids imitated his parade ground bark at recess. Toy companies produced Sergeant Carter action figures. Yet success welded Frank's face to one persona. Casting calls dwindled, sorry, you're too recognizable. This was Golden Handcuff fame, the applause was thunderous, but the range of roles narrowed by the week. Frank wouldn't stand for artistic confinement. Brothers in Arms, Neighbors and the Vietnam Tour. Off-camera, Frank and Jim Neighbors forged an unlikely bond, gravelly ex-sergeant and honey-voiced singer. In 1966 they flew to Vietnam on a USO-style swing, 56 shows in 8 days. Helicopter rotor wash rattled tin stages while mortars boomed in the hills. Frank cracked Eric's room jokes, then dropped telling troops, we don't just play Marines, we honor you. Soldiers later recalled the visit as a slice of home in hell. Back stateside, the duo co-hosted the Jim Neighbors Hour, where Frank spoofed opera singers, slapstick chauffeurs, even ballet dancers, proving range TV execs claimed he lacked. Still, after Gomer's final salute, he'd face his stiffest audition, Life Beyond Typecasting. Dinner Theater Marathon. When Gomer Pyle rapped, Frank hit the road with punishing zeal. Norman, is that you? Tackled taboo themes. The Odd Couple, let him swagger as Sloppy Oscar. Audiences gasped seeing Carter in pajamas, cracking adult jokes. But the price? 16-hour bus rides, smoking to stay awake, greasy roadside burgers, and doubleheaders in echoing banquet halls. Managers booked him as Sergeant Carter Live, on promotional posters, phantom chains he couldn't escape. He smiled for fans, pocketed $1,500 a week, far less than primetime rates, but relished raw stage adrenaline. Each standing ovation whispered, see? You're more than a catchphrase. Yet beneath applause, his arteries stiffened. Family begged for rest, Frank tightened his shoelaces. Homefront harmony and hidden cracks. Between tours, Frank returned to a modest San Fernando Valley ranch house. He laid brick barbecue pits, coached Little League, and helped Toby punch up soap opera cliffhangers. Joe, their eldest, remembered late-night debates on morality, race, and why storytellers must poke complacency. Frank's disciplinarian TV image melted into goofy dad who danced to Motown while flipping pancakes. He refused Hollywood mansions, kids need normal, he said. Yet chest tightness interrupted Saturday morning catch. Toby urged a cardiologist, Frank scheduled appointments, then canceled for rehearsal. Pride and paycheck outranked pulse readings. Warning sirens blared louder, but a final sprint loomed. Relentless warning signs. By 1973, friends noticed pallid skin and shortness of breath after curtain bows. Small-town doctors prescribed rest, Frank popped aspirin and boarded the next flight. Cigarettes escalated from 1 to 2 packs a day. He joked his heart was tougher than marine steel. Backstage, castmates found him massaging his sternum, eyes glazed. When asked, he'd grin, old war wound. Nothing a laugh won't fix. Self-mythology overruled self-care. And the calendar flipped to a date no one could postpone. June 28, 1974, curtain that never rose. Shreveport's Beverly Barn dinner playhouse, humid and buzzing. Love had sold-out tables, fried catfish aroma in the air. Frank warmed up lines, joked with co-star Elizabeth Ives, kissed 10-year-old Amanda for luck, and ducked into his dressing room to adjust a boutonniere. Seconds later a crash echoed. Stagehands thought he dropped a prop trunk. They forced the door. Frank lay motionless, face ashen. EMTs arrived in minutes but logged no pulse. A manager stepped on stage choking back tears. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight's show cannot continue. Some patrons applauded politely, mistaking tragedy for dramatic gimmick, until sirens cut the misunderstanding cold. The final act had ended before the first line. Silent reverberations. News bulletins blared, Sergeant Carter dead at 50. Hollywood mourned, Vietnam vets saluted. Toby fielded calls from magazine reporters hunting scandal but found none, only exhaustion, nicotine, and an iron will that ignored mortal limits. At the Clarksville funeral, bugles sounded taps, schoolchildren placed hand-drawn flags at his grave. Jim Neighbors choked through The Impossible Dream. Toby shielded Amanda from camera flashes. Joe jotted phrases in a notebook that would later seed courtroom dramas exploring justice and denial. Yet death didn't dim that gravelly voice for long. 15 bronze, reruns and renewed relevance. In 2017, Clarksville unveiled a life-size bronze Sergeant Carter. Veterans Day crowds lined up for selfies beside the frozen bark. Streaming services added Gomer Pyle. Gen Z binge-watchers discovered Carter's duality, harsh orders laced with hidden compassion. Joe Sutton's Broadway play Voir Dire drew acclaim, echoing his father's insistence that art confront uncomfortable truths. Meanwhile, mental health advocates cite Frank's story when urging performers to value wellness over relentless hustle, reminding them that applause can't resuscitate a failing heart. Which brings us to the meaning behind the myth. The caution carved in applause. Frank Sutton's life offers two legacies, one in roaring laughter, another in hovering silence. The laughter teaches that disciplined craft can launch an unknown Tennessean into pop culture legend. The silence warns that ignoring whispered symptoms can silence that legend mid-sentence. He embodied commitment, on beaches, on sets, on stage, and paid with years he should have spent watching grandchildren's plays instead of memorizing his own lines. The final order. So next time Sergeant Carter's booming, "Move it, Pyle," rattles your living room speakers, hear the softer message underneath: move it, toward balance. Move it, toward a doctor visit. Move it, before ambition outruns the heart that fuels it. Frank Sutton's last unscripted command is simple: take care of yourself, kid. The mission matters, but so do you. Follow that order, and his legacy marches on, one healthy heartbeat at a time.